of consciousness technique that we are discussing here. Yesterday, the activity that was given to you, that sit for a while with yourself and just observe the mental process, how the thoughts are coming, how they move on, the way people think here, Henry James, and the way they have given the concept of time that flows with the consciousness. It is never static. It is like a halo. So past is present, future is present. We are in the present moment. So simultaneously we exist in past and future also, and that we can observe by our thought process, and how things get associated, how that free association of things take us from one thought to another thought, one concept to another concept, one person to another person, how it keeps on flowing. So that was a kind of a small activity to understand stream of consciousness was given to you. Who else would
Sir,
like
I may
to?
try.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, as you said that we have to sit alone and so try to focus on our thought process. So the first thing which, if I am alone, and the first thing I face every time, it's not for this particular thought process, but uh, every time I face this question is about my existence, that what I am doing right now. Because in past I have faced this crisis of not doing what others say, or going with my choice, like what I actually have to want to do with my life, and not what others say to me to do with my future. So this fear dynamics always works with me, that if presently I am doing what I like, then I have to face certain consequences all alone by myself, because I had gone with my choice and not others say. Because it would be easy for people who go with advice of others, like they tell him to they tell him or her to do this kind of thing with his future, or to uh, what we say, to make the condition or situation more comfortable in future life. But so if we face any problem or crisis in our life, then we go with go to them, that you had advised me to do this, and now I am facing this crisis, then what shall I do in future? So they will always give this answer to the solution, answer to the problem or solution. But when we do this by our choice, and we make a choice, and we face any consequence, or what we say, a problem or issue in our life, then we cannot go to anyone and display our problem and our failure, the story of failure yet. We cannot narrate them our story of failure, and we can say that I am facing this kind of consequences, so can you please help me? So that would be totally what we say, out of the notion of society. So this situation I face daily, and yesterday also this first very thought came to my mind is this. And then this I was reading this Old Man and the Sea also before 5 to 6 days. So this story came to my mind, that how this old man has done about with taking going for his aim, like everybody was laughing around him at him and his age and his skills, that he is so much traditional and so much what we say, not modern actually, and he is following his conceptions in fishing, which is not which does not go with society's convention. And so everybody was laughing at him, and then he had to prove himself. He had undergone the very hard battle during his fishing career. So, and then when he returns, he is very much overjoyed, or very much powerful in his mentality, that what he had done has resulted into something good for him. But when it was a story, it was of course a motivational story, a motivational factor which can provide us somewhat optimistic energy. But when in real life we doesn't come across every this kind of situation in everyday life, because we have this major failure or to be focused on, then that what if I do this and I face failure. So we have to think for other plan also, which we had made earlier, which we had mistaken earlier, that we had not gone with we had not made ready the ABC plans, but we had only focused on one plan. So this was the process, and simultaneously this old man and the sea, and then it worked to the blogs and all the Google Classroom pending tasks which we have to complete in a given time. So yesterday was also I was asking that we have to the control power is what we had encountered recently in recent moments or throughout the day, that we had this online classes, and so this online classes and the idea of Google Classroom always flashes in every situation or everything we do in our day-to-day life. And then the thought process ran the major crisis which I had focused was that this old man and the sea idea, this Google Classroom idea, and the idea of very existence were clashing each other. Like which thought will overpower, like which thought will I have to focus for this thinking process, because this thinking process was a conscious thought, and the other were unconsciously flashing and coming and going. So what I observed is that thought does not flow linearly, of course. So it picks up any random moment or experience or image, and then goes further and forward without any break or a particular length. And if we ever return, like we have this observation pattern to be observed. So this, if we ever return for consciously, if we ever written consciously, then two thought process works at the same time, or more than two, I would say, which simultaneously tries to overpower one another to occupy the very first place or the root place from which the other new flow can begin. So it's like a battle of two or more thoughts which are fighting in our mind. So this is a kind of not dilemma. Dilemma we have this only two choices, but it's a kind of very huge battle which our thoughts are fighting to grab the first place of the tree from which the thoughts of branches will grow up. So this was a very what we say problematic thing for me to focus on one particular single thing that way. So sir, I would like to ask you that what if we face this battle of simultaneously flashing this thoughts flashes and two thoughts flashes in between, and we couldn't focus on the both of them, and we try to go for, or we try to find ease or comfort in the third thought.
Yes, good. So simultaneously, lot many ideas keeps on coming and going, and what is interesting to understand when you try to look at this idea of stream of consciousness and as a technique when they are using it as a narrative, is to see that how are they connected, or why are they connected with it? Why we get the idea of connection with Santiago and Google Classroom activities? What is that? That also is what we have to ponder upon. That why from here to we go to Santiago fishing, and then from there to the Google Classroom. So that is that free association, and why that happens. So is it like we are taking Santiago's task as difficult, and we also take our task as difficult? It is the task that is connecting both the things together, or whatever was the reason. It can be individual, it can be separate for everybody also, but that is very important to observe. We don't have any final answers for all these things. There are no final answers, but we can observe the thought process, and we can try to say that maybe because of this, maybe because of that. We try to self-justify by giving one or the another answers or interpretations to those free associations in our thinking process also there. Okay, so you have done an activity where you keep on floating from what you study to the work that is to be done, or the life challenges, a lot many things that simultaneously keeps on surfacing before ourselves. Yeah. Okay. Who else?
Sir, before we move forward with another interpretation, I have this kind of inquiry. Like, if we inquire into writer's mind who is writing in the stream of consciousness, then we may find that this thoughts of or battling of thoughts can be in his or her mind also. That he or she would also be trying to justify in his narrative that how to go with a particular thought and not all the thoughts which randomly occur in the mind. So what would be the process he or she would be undergoing while writing, and how his or her writing or narration of stream of consciousness can be in a way that it would relate to the reader's point of reader's mind also.
Yes. Now, when we do this, we are involved into what we call it as biographical study or autobiographical study of the author. And one thing is that we have psychological theories. So with the help of psychological theories, we try to interpret that this might be in the mind of author or other thing. Second, important is that if we have evidence of diaries or letters written or somebody else, a friend or a family member telling that this is what he was thinking or going on. So this helps in concluding what we do. When we have a diary or letters or somebody to say, we call it corroborate. If there is somebody to corroborate, then it is easy to conclude that what might be going in the mind of the writer and what the person has written, as we have done in the case of T.S. Eliot's autobiographical reading. That once we got the scribbled off manuscript, the original one, which was a very longer poem. Then we got some of the diary pages and the life story of wife and husband, Ezra Pound's editing of the poem. Then we came to know that, well, this is very much a personal experience that he is talking about there. But until and unless those things were not available, people thought that Eliot is writing with complete objectivity until that. So, and that happened in 70s, 1970s. After his death, those things came out after his death. So far as Eliot lived, he was considered as the champion of objectivity. He himself was practicing that, and everything was taken. But afterwards, we got those things. The psychological theories help us in reading human behavior, but there are always problems. We have to be very careful that psychological theories are general theories about human behavior. They may not be 100% right with everybody. It may not be 100% right with everybody. We can do our interpretations, but we can't say that that is the only reason for this or that purpose there. So that is the problem with psychological theories. They may be right to a greater extent, but we have to always keep exceptional cases in between that. But we use it. We use psychological theories a lot in our interpretation of writers and their works, and then we come to know about the things that are written there. So it is like the dual things are there in that, psychological theories and corroborative evidence, which plays a vital role in looking at the work and the mental process that might have gone in that. If you want to add one more dynamics to this, then we can say that, well, all human beings crave for immortality, and author also is a human being, so he also craves for immortality by that writing. So is constantly thinking that how this work becomes unique of myself, very unique of myself, that this becomes my school of poetry, this becomes my school of thought, that also is always undergoing. And so in that way they try to be different from other people, they try to be different. So that also is maybe one of the battles that the writers or thinkers may be battling when they are trying to write those things there. The critics of literature and the observations of by and large literature has told that any deliberate attempt to become great, any deliberate attempts to become great or immortal or to write letters, the name letters in golden letters, those normally fail. They normally fail. What works is sincerity of the writer, sincerity and seriousness. If the writer is very sincere and serious towards poetic work, emotions and feelings, and very true to self, very true to self, then there are more chances that that work of art can sustain the test of time and can live longer. So that is very important, whether contemporary people accept it or not, whether they reject it or not, whether they like it or not. Is the individual honest with the expression of emotions and feelings? That is very important rather than all other kinds of things. That's why Matthew Arnold, in Study of the Poetry, says about high seriousness of poetry. And that makes sincerity and seriousness is very important in writing of the work of art also there.